It's time for a much requested video. Something I did for Shogun 2 a couple of years ago and seemingly would be useful for Free Kingdoms as well. A frequently asked questions video. In this video I'm going to go over things that I get asked on a very frequent basis in regards to how to do certain things or why certain things are different in my game compared to yours. There will be some basic stuff that is relevant to all Total War games too, that some of you might have known about for years, but that newcomers to the franchise might find helpful. And there will also be some things that are completely unique to Free Kingdoms and should hopefully be helpful to all. Now, let's get some questions answered. Before we jump into the campaign and battles, let's start with the options menus. This is something many people seem to not bother looking at, and thus also where many questions will be answered. First of all, the age-old "why do your units have more men than mine" question. I think this must be the most asked question on any Total War YouTuber's comment section, and it's one of the easiest to answer. Simply go to the advanced settings in the graphics options menu and you'll find it right at the bottom. Mine is set to extreme, which gives regular infantry 240 men per unit and is only recommended on high-end PCs. Obviously you can find plenty of other options here too, and since some of you have asked my personal graphics settings, you can see them here as well. Now, on to the next question, which is regarding the unit cards. This one is very specific to Free Kingdoms. Many people have asked me what mods I'm using to make my unit cards look different from the ones they're using. The answer is none. It once again is simply an option, but you can be a bit more forgiven for missing this one, as it's not found in the graphics but instead in the interface menu under alternate unit cards. Turning this on will give you the fully colored unit cards I've been using in all my videos. Turning it off gives you the ghostly looking unit cards that most people will be used to. In this interface menu you will find plenty of other useful options too. For example, the ability to turn off or on the default to run, skirmish and guard mode. I like to manually skirmish my men, so I have that one turned off, but I do like it when my men run automatically, so that one is turned on. Projectile trails can be turned off here as well, but I found that if I do so, they become almost invisible in videos, so I've left them on. I've also turned drag out single line on, as it means I can more easily make my own formations. For those new to the franchise, it might be a good idea to turn it off though, as the game will make suitable formations for you when you drag your entire army in battle. This will help you get more familiar with formations, and as you get more experience you can always turn it on again later. Let's move on to the campaign map. A question I've received numerous times over the years with all Total War games is how to show your army's movement without actually committing to the move. This is another very easily answered question. Instead of selecting an army and just right-clicking somewhere to move, instead hold down the right mouse button and drag it around to see your movement options. If you decide you don't want to move the army at all, just click the left mouse button while still holding the right mouse button to cancel. You can also do this in battle. If you're dragging your unit somewhere but decided you don't want to give that order after all, just left-click to cancel. Next up are a couple of things that didn't really come up as questions in my comments, but things I showcased in my videos and I figured would be useful for everyone to know. First up is how to deal with enemy armies in march stance. It's very possible that Creative Assembly will actually change the way March works in the future and this will become irrelevant, but whether that happens or not, I do not know. So here's how it works right now. When attacking an army in march stance, it still has the ability to run away, which we all agree is ridiculous and thus will likely get patched. There is, however, a way to deal with this problem, and that is by giving an attack order on the army in question, but cancelling the order just before your army reaches theirs. The key is that your army needs to be inside the zone of control circle of the enemy army. Once you are inside their zone of control, they cannot move away from you during their turn, so they will either be forced to attack you or sit there waiting for their doom. More often than not, the enemy will just go into encampment stance during their turn, and when it is your turn again, you will be able to attack them only using a tiny bit of movement since you started so close to them. So even if they run away, you will be able to catch them again without any issue. While I agree this feels kind of cheesy, I feel that being able to run away while in march stance is even more cheesy, so sometimes fighting cheese with cheese is a necessity. The last thing I showcased in my videos and figured was worth mentioning again here is something that many people seem to misinterpret when watching my videos. I couldn't tell you how many people commented on my videos telling me that when I wanted my faction leader and wife to have babies, that there was a make heir button that I was supposed to click to make that happen. Apparently these people all assumed that the button essentially orders your faction leader and wife to go have sex and make a baby, when I thought it would have been pretty clear from context that obviously isn't the case. When clicking on your wife in the family tree, the make heir button will make her your heir, you sickos. As I said, not really a frequently asked question, but more of a frequently misunderstood function. Now let's move on to the battles. Starting with what is probably the most frequently asked question I've had since I started doing videos on Free Kingdoms. And that is, how to move your entire army in the formation you put them in before. This question is probably the one that triggered me to make this video the most, as it's such a useful thing to know, and so many people don't know it. So, first of all, you can do this with as many units as you want. A single unit, a row of units, or your entire army, it's up to you. Select those units you want to move, then hold Alt and click on one of the selected units. You can now drag all selected units wherever you want them to go. Just dragging your units might not be enough though, you may need to rotate them. You can do this by also pressing Ctrl and then moving your mouse around to rotate them however you want. Make sure to do this while still holding the Alt button though. I find this to be one of the best ways to move an entire army quickly. I will however add that some people swear by using groups, and it provides you with similar movement options. Personally, I never use groups and I've never felt the need to, so I will also not go in depth on them here. But if enough people want to see a video on the ins and outs of groups, I could perhaps do a separate video on it in the future. Just let me know in the comments. The final thing I want to cover is very simply the spacebar. As with other recent Total War games, the spacebar holds a wide variety of UI options in battles. Anything from character auras to unit IDs, and hiding foliage to hero portraits. While I don't want to cover every single option here, I will tell you what I think is the most important option, and that is hide foliage. Personally, I think having a better idea of what's going on is more important than seeing pretty trees, so hide foliage is always turned on for me. This means that whenever I get near a tree, the leaves will disappear so I can see what's below them. I would recommend messing around with these options in a custom battle and seeing what information you want on your screen at all times, only when you hold the spacebar, or never. Once you've set these to what you prefer, you'll likely never need to look at it again, so it's worth spending some time getting it right. With that, we have come to the end of the video. I hope this video has answered some of the questions you might have had. I'm sure there's lots of other questions I haven't answered, so please feel free to pop those in the comments and I will answer them for you there, or maybe even make a follow-up video answering them if there's enough interesting questions that need answering. Finally, if you somehow watched this video but don't even own Free Kingdoms, don't despair. I am affiliated with 2Game, an official online retailer that's currently selling Free Kingdoms at a very attractive price. If you use my code SmartDonkey at checkout, that price gets even more attractive. So much so, you might even fall in love. If the game is region locked for you, just change the currency at the top left of the screen and that'll fix it. If you'd like to just support me making this type of content instead, make sure to check out my Patreon page. All the relevant links will be in the description. Thank you very much for watching, I hope you've enjoyed, have a good day and goodbye.